All right, boys, welcome back. This is going to be a juicy one. This is actually the first episode of a 3, maybe 4-part series on personality disorders. And in this episode, we're going to dive into narcissistic personality disorder. And by dive in, we're not only going to break down what narcissism is, we're going to explore the different types of narcissists. Yes, there are different types. So we're going to start with the societal understanding of what it is and the flaws that are associated with it. And then we're going to expand on the disorder as a whole. And of course, throw in some spooky stories. My goal today is to give you the best understanding of this disorder as possible so that you can spot this type of behavior in everyday people and more specifically, future romantic partners. This episode is also for guys who are still in a relationship where they feel like something is off and maybe you have no idea what it is, but something doesn't feel quite right. And this is also for those guys out there who were just blindsided by a breakup or a divorce and are now confused as fuck and still can't figure out what went wrong. You guys might have some clarity after this episode. So, if you're ready to have your narc radar tuned up, let's freaking go. Okay, first off, what is a narcissist? If you ask the average person what they think a narc is, they'll say things like, oh, it's someone who's selfish or a liar, a manipulator, someone with no empathy, etc. And while those are all characteristics of narcs, we've gone down this road in the last 15 years or so where people just label others as a narc who really don't fit all the criteria. For example, if someone who lied to them once and then ditched them once they got caught lying, you'll hear them being labeled a narc. Or someone who thinks that they're above everyone else in the room and acts like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you'll hear people label them a narcissist. And what I'm saying is that we tend to over-label people, even though they may not be a full-blown narcissist or psychopath or whatever the label is. Just because someone shows 1 or 2 traits of narcissism doesn't mean that they are totally a narc. Labeling someone a narcissist, keep in mind, will fuck up their reputation. So that's something that we have to keep in mind moving forward. We also have to think about the person who is doing the labeling. There's a pretty good chance that a person who just throws that label around accusing this person of being a narcissist and that person and this person, guess what? They may actually be the narc. Also keep in mind, guys, I am not a psychiatrist. I do have a bachelor's in psychology, but I am not qualified to diagnose anyone. But everything I'm about to lay out for you is all publicly accessible online. My goal is to help you navigate the depths of understanding personality disorders so you can learn to spot the behavior. So with that out of the way, what actually constitutes a narcissist? Well, there is a psychological manual for diagnosing and classifying mental disorders called the DSM-5. It outlines what narcissism is. Actually, the DSM differentiates between, quote, narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. So here we go. Here are the core tenets of narcissism. All of these fall under the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. First core tenet, grandiosity. Someone who is grandiose thinks they are way smarter, talented, or, quote, special than they actually are. They also look down on others, they'll act snobbish, they're condescending, they demand special treatment, think the rules don't apply to them. Overall, someone who is grandiose and shows this type of behavior thinks they're the shit, and that their shit don't stink. All right, the second core tenet of narcissism, need for excessive admiration. This is a person who not only likes to be the center of attention, they need to be the center of attention. They have an insatiable need for people to like them and pay attention to them. And no matter how much praise and admiration they get, it's never enough. They will virtue signal to make others think they care about a particular thing when they really don't. They steer conversations back onto themselves, and they don't really hang out in situations where they aren't the main focus of attention. Think of someone who posts selfies on social media a lot, like spams your feed with selfies. Overall, a person who has a need for excessive admiration is a person who we call an attention whore. Number 3, lack of empathy. This one doesn't exactly mean that a person has zero empathy at all. The key word here is lack of empathy. They can empathize, but it comes across as superficial or fake, most of the time to make you feel good so you get closer to them. This person will dismiss or minimize emotions in other people, They'll act cold or callous when the other person needs comfort. Here's a big one. They will place the blame on you when they fucked up and made you upset. They'll say, well, if you didn't make me feel this way, I wouldn't have done that to you. While this person will seek empathy from other people for themselves, they will not empathize with you because they don't want you to get that comfort and attention to heal. Why? It takes the attention away from them. Overall, we call someone who lacks empathy someone who is cold-hearted. That's basically what narcissism is. Here's a breakdown of narcissistic personality disorder. And according to the DSM-5, a person must fit into at least 5 of the following criteria to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So, in addition to the aforementioned grandiosity, need for excessive admiration, and lack of empathy, as we just heard, we also have being preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Wow, I know that's a mouthful. This is basically a person who thinks they are going to be the world's richest person, that they're going to be some kind of global leader, when they don't actually have the mindset, the resources, or the connections to actually take them there. This person will say shit like, one day everyone will see how amazing I truly am. The next criteria is thinking they are, quote, special and can only be understood by rich and powerful people. This person thinks people like you and me are but mere peasants who just don't understand them. Next criteria is a strong sense of entitlement. They expect everyone around them to be okay with their shitty behavior. They will overstep boundaries with no remorse, and they will demand special treatment. Next is being interpersonally exploitive. This means they take advantage of others around them with no regard to how it will affect them. These are people who step on others to elevate themselves, and they have no problem tanking that person's career or reputation to bring themselves up even one small little notch. Next is being extremely envious. This person is very jealous, way more than normal, and they think that others are envious of them way more often than normal. And last is arrogant or haughty behavior. This person acts like they are superior to others and looks down on us mere peasants. So at least 5 of those 9 criteria are what's required for the clinical diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. I guarantee all of you guys listening know someone that fits into at least a few of these criteria. And again, just because you or someone you know got jealous a few times or acted arrogant once or twice doesn't necessarily mean that they are a narc or can be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. Now for the different types, or as the DSM calls it, subtypes. Some narcs are really easy to spot. They basically just let it all hang out and they have this attitude of, yeah, I'm an asshole. What are you going to do about it? But others are more discreet, where you won't see their true colors until you spent a lot of time with them, either in relationships or friendships. We're going to go down the list of the 5 subtypes in order of easiest to spot all the way down to hardest to spot. First one, the grandiose or overt narcissist. This person is super charismatic, energetic, and boastful. They're always bragging about themselves. They outwardly demand admiration, and they make it known that they are superior to others, especially in social groups or where they work. They steer conversations back onto themselves, always. They expect special treatment, unrealistic entitlements, and will turn mean and nasty if they don't get what they want. And they will put on the charm at first. They'll fluff you up with compliments and make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, drawing you closer to them until they get what they want, and then they will simply discard you once you've served your purpose. You can spot the overt narc very easily. You won't have to spend a lot of time or get close to them to see their true colors. They let it all hang out with no apologies. Next, we have the malignant narcissist. This person isn't quite as boastful and charismatic as the overt narc, but their narcissism comes out in harmful ways. They will act aggressive, they are unapologetically manipulative, and they can be sadistic, which means that they take pleasure in watching other people get hurt, physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything. You may spot this if they get angry and just go from 0 to 10 out of nowhere if they don't get the attention they want, or if someone calls them out on their bullshit behavior. Malignant narcissists also lack boundaries. They have no actual sense of monogamy, and they do not value love. They will lie to their partners and cheat on them without feeling an ounce of guilt. You can spot the malignant narcissist if they have a consistent history of cheating on their exes, frequent short-term past relationships, basically someone who gets broken up with a lot or breaks up with people a lot, history of legal issues, or if there's a bunch of people that are warning you about this person. Also, you'll spot it if they cheat on you or lie frequently and they don't feel bad about it when you confront them about it. In fact, they may say it was your fault, and they may take pleasure in watching you get upset when that truth comes out. The malignant narcissist will also use intimidation tactics to keep you under their thumb. They will use anything at their disposal. They'll use sex to pull you in and then push you away with rage and anger at the smallest hint that they're not getting their way, leaving you confused in a roller coaster of chaos. And then once they sense you're pulling away, they'll rope you right back in with more mind-blowing sex. Then, once you leave them for good, they will lose their freaking mind. They will try to hurt you, they'll key your car, they'll break stuff, slander your name with rumors, and other very harmful, violent, dangerous things. Next up is the antagonistic narcissist. This person is overly competitive. They have a lot of enemies, and they can get super argumentative for no reason at all. You'll see this once you spend some time with them, either in friendships or a romantic relationship. They'll start picking fights over minor issues. They will twist facts around to give them this false sense of, quote, winning debates. They also hate seeing you succeed. If you're their source of attention, especially in relationships, they won't celebrate your wins with you. They have poor sportsmanship. If they lose a competition or an argument or whatever, they will blame the game and say it's been fixed for the other team, or they'll just more or less blame anything else they can. You'll spot the antagonistic narcissist when disagreements quickly become all-out fights, as you think, holy shit, there's no way I can get through to this person. You'll also see it in sports or at work. They blame everything else except for themselves for their failures. Next is communal narcissism. Now we're getting to the types that are harder to spot. The communal narcissist will virtue signal and only act empathetic or altruistic when they will be seen. It's to give other people this false sense that they are some sort of good and ethical person. But if the spotlight isn't on them, they don't do those admiration-seeking things. It's kind of like a politician taking advantage of a photo op for some cause and then not actually doing anything to help that cause. The communal narcissist has a high sense of moral superiority, and they judge others for not being, quote, a perfect ethical person like they are. They preach values that they do not actually follow. If virtue signaling and all that fake shit doesn't work, they'll get resentful and withdraw. They'll say shit like, after all I've done for you. This one is really hard to spot because they are very good at convincing you on the first impression that they are, quote, someone who has only the best intentions for me and the people around us, especially those who are in need of help. You can spot the communal narcissist when you challenge them on not walking the walk that they are talking. This is one of my favorite things to do. And they'll get all sorts of mean and nasty once you call them out on not practicing what they preach. Or if you challenge them on their moral superiority, saying something like, why are you acting this way? I thought you didn't like people who do XYZ thing that you're literally doing right now. What gives? And last, but certainly not least, we have the covert or vulnerable narcissist. This one, in my opinion, is the most dangerous of the subtypes, simply because they are extremely hard to detect. You'll have to spend enough time and get close enough for them to show their true colors, and by that time, it may be too late. The covert narc will always play the victim. They will blame other people or things for their own shortcomings. They see your success and equate it to, quote, getting lucky, or saying that you only got this far because of your connections, instead of actually acknowledging your hard work and dedication to your success. They will give you the silent treatment if you didn't do something completely to their liking. The silent treatment will emerge especially if you call them out on something they did wrong. It doesn't even matter if you try to word it in a way that isn't going to hurt a normal person's feelings. They are very sensitive to even an inkling of criticism. They'll just act all sad, they'll sulk, and they'll put on that victim mentality face so you feel bad for them and then take your criticism back. If a little criticism upsets them too much, they'll start manipulating you into believing you are the problem. They will do anything to keep themselves in the victim role, and they will eventually convince you that you are the bad guy, and you may even start to genuinely believe it. This leads to you walking on eggshells to avoid upsetting them. You'll keep your mouth shut when they're doing something wrong or destructive, and you may become completely subservient to them. Eventually, the communication required to keep a relationship healthy erodes, with the covert narc over-blaming things on you and you under-blaming things on them. In other words, you stop bringing up things about their behavior that are concerning you, and thus, those problems grow like a cancer, not only affecting the relationship itself, but also disintegrating your own sense of personal responsibility, where you start genuinely believing everything that is wrong with them is your fault. In the end, you will lose all sense of yourself and become a different person. Your friends and family might even start getting worried about you. And when the loving people in your life start to express their concerns about your relationship with this person, criticizing their behavior, you will rationalize and defend the covert narc, even if you are silently agreeing with those criticisms. But still, the covert narc will start convincing you that your true friends and loving family are not good for you for whatever reason. And at this point, you are a changed person. Unbeknownst to you, you will actually be helping the covert narc maintain their image in everyone else's eyes. You have been shaped into what they want you to be. And the worst part is, you won't even realize it at first. And boys, this is a very, very bad place to be. Ask me how I know. In fact, all 5 narc subtypes have the capability of turning you into someone you're not. And I'm talking mostly about romantic relationships. Here you are, genuine, honest, supportive, and truly wanting the best for your partner. Why? You really genuinely care about them and you want to see them succeed, and all of your intentions are good. And in the midst of all this, it's natural to want to please them, because at first, they seem normal. Narcs know that if they go from 0 to 100 on the first date, you're going to ghost them. But they are cunning. They are calculating. Behind that warm, inviting smile and insatiable sex drive is a clever egomaniac slowly learning and evaluating your strengths, weaknesses, fears, and struggles, one day at a time, one conversation, one text at a time. They slowly start dismantling your identity, values, and morals one small piece at a time. It's like putting your hand in a pot of cold water and then slowly turning up the heat. You won't notice at first, but then over time, you'll start to get this feeling that something isn't right. Here are those warning signs or red flags. Number 1, love bombing. In the beginning, they hit all your sexy buttons right away. They try really hard to be around you all the time and to get you on dates and everything. They're very forward. They shower you with compliments and make you feel all warm and fuzzy until you have those crazy rose-colored glasses on, making red flags look like normal flags. Number 2, they may communicate with you sporadically. Fast, quick responses for a while and then super sporadic responses with no explanation. In the end, this just keeps you emotionally engaged. Number 3, their stories are inconsistent. They will leave out key details or change the details depending on what they want you to think. You'll have this reaction of, oh, okay, well, I thought she said she went to the mall on Friday, and now she's telling me that she went on Saturday. Oh, well. Number 4, they will give you backhanded compliments, especially if you are sharing an accomplishment with them. You'll say, hey, I got that promotion, and they'll say, wow, I wish I could get lucky like you to have that promotion just handed to me. What this is going to do is make you start to doubt yourself and you will start to feel insecure. Number 5, they stop supporting your goals and your mission. This comes some time after love bombing and you'll think their lack of support is just a, quote, rough patch. In reality, it's purely because you are succeeding and they are not. They will also act envious or resentful towards your success. They'll say things like, don't let it get to your head, which will make you think they're just protecting you from getting too big for your britches. Number 6, in social settings, they will actually act like they are your biggest supporter, which gives your ego a nice little stroke, and you'll get other people saying things like, man, you're so lucky to have such a supportive partner. She's awesome. Number 7, gaslighting. They'll tell you that you're overreacting when you clearly aren't at all, and they will project their own toxicity onto you. They will accuse you of doing the very thing they are doing. They'll start arguments out of nowhere and say something like, why do you always need to argue with me about this? Number 8, isolation. They will slowly start pulling you away from your friends and family in subtle ways. At this point in the relationship, they'll know exactly how to word things to convince you that the important people in your life will actually have to take a back seat this time, and the next time, and the next time, and so on. This is because they don't want the healthy people in your life to start asking you about your relationship with them and otherwise try to convince you that they are no good for you. And finally, number 9, they are allergic to personal responsibility and they will not apologize. Actually, they will apologize only if they feel it's necessary to get you to do something. Most of the time, they will apologize only when you give them an ultimatum and they don't have someone else lined up to take your place once you leave or once they leave you. And also, anything that they do wrong, it's always someone else's or some other thing's fault. All right, guys, we've covered a lot. So far, we've covered what narcissism is, the subtypes, and a quick glimpse into the warning signs when you're meeting new people, especially your next girlfriend. But as far as avoiding these types of people, there is one thing I want you to understand in order to protect yourself from becoming a victim of a narcissist. It is a part of your narc radar that you actually already have. And that is this. Always trust your gut. Always trust your gut. A healthy relationship progresses naturally and steadily where there is trust, understanding, compassion, empathy, and good communication. And yes, sometimes we get upset and say things we don't mean, but we apologize and forgive. If at any point your gut is giving you that uneasy feeling, you need to listen to it. Yes, that feeling will still come up when you're feeling so much love and excitement, warm and fuzzies, lots of sexy time. But most of the time, your gut will be overpowered by these new feelings of love and sexy buttons being pushed. If you ever experience this in the future, or if you're experiencing it right now, you need to take a step back and evaluate. Most of the time, however, we don't learn how to listen to this gut feeling until we've been fucked over. So boys, take some time and absorb what we talked about today. Replay this episode if you need. I know it was a lot, and I encourage you to do some more research on your own. Educate yourself on learning how to spot narcs and toxic people in general, and don't be afraid to say no to someone who gives you that bad feeling in your gut, no matter what point of the relationship you're in. All right, story time. See if you can spot the behaviors that we just talked about. So this was way back in high school. One of my friends had hooked me up with a mutual friend of his to take to our school's senior ball. She asked him for my number, and then she got in contact. We met at her work on her break, and we hit it off right away. She was smoking hot and was super excited to meet me. I thought it was too good to be true. Needless to say, I was head over heels. She spammed me with texts right after. She's like, oh my God, you're so cute. I can't wait to spend some more time with you. When can I see you again? I've been thinking about you nonstop. All this shit. So I said, oh yeah, sure. Let's go see a movie. A couple nights later, we went to the movies. And afterwards, when I walked her back to her car, she grabbed me and started making out with me like there was no tomorrow. I, being 18 years old, was in heaven, or so I thought. Shortly after that, she asked me to go to her school's senior ball. I, of course, said, yeah. In the weeks leading up to my senior ball, we were texting nonstop. But then something weird started happening. She kept saying that she wanted to hang out, but every time I would try and plan something, she would either reschedule last minute or just bail altogether. But I was so helplessly love-struck, I just brushed it off as no big deal and rationalized away the gut feelings because, oh well, she's hot. Who cares? Fast forward to my senior ball. I met at our friend's house all dressed up and ready to rock. I arrived 30 minutes before the limo would come pick up the 8 of us. I knew the other couples and they all knew my date. In fact, they knew her better than I did. But even they didn't truly know the extent of her personality quite yet. Well, the limo arrived and she was still not there. And then she was ignoring my calls and texts. Go figure. Then after about 20 minutes, she finally walks through the door. She had come straight from work. She didn't put any effort into getting ready. Her hair was a mess. She had no makeup on and she looked like she needed a shower. It was as if she just threw on her dress and decided, this is good. Of course, my dumbass didn't think it was a big deal, even when I noticed my friends all exchanging looks when they saw her like this. Regardless, we hopped in the limo and off we went. And the ride there was cool. She gave some excuse about having to work late, yada yada. But to me, here she was, a hottie, looking at me with those seductive eyes, holding my leg and whispering sweet nothings into my ear. On the dance floor, we got down. We actually had a really good time. Later that night, the limo dropped us back off and she left immediately. My friends then confronted me. They asked if I thought her behavior was weird and the whole looking like a hot mess when she arrived. I rationalized for her, emphasizing that she had no choice but to work late. They said, all right, dude, if you think it's not a big deal, we're not going to press you on it anymore. Her senior ball was the following Saturday. I tried texting her once during the week, got nothing. Saturday rolls around and I had put on a different suit, but kept the accent colors to match the other dress she said that she was going to wear. We met at another friend's house where they too knew her. In fact, 2 of the couples from the past weekend were also there. Again, I arrived 30 minutes early, and wouldn't you know it, she arrived late, again, looking like shit, and wearing the same fucking dress. She didn't even have it cleaned. It smelled like old moldy sweat from the other weekend. And at this point, I thought, okay, now this is getting really weird. In the limo, she sat away from me. I didn't want to make a big deal of it, so I just chatted with our other friends next to me. Once we got to the dance hall, poof, I turn around and she was gone. So here I am, walking through a sea of kids I don't know, looking for my date. I looked for probably almost an hour, and then I finally found her in a group of her friends. I approached and tried to introduce myself, and they all just stopped, turned, gave me mean mugs, and basically told me to get lost. What the fuck? I was confused as fuck and trying to wrap my head around things. I eventually sat down at a table all by myself trying to make sense of what the fuck went wrong. Until my friend who had hooked us up in the first place sat down across from me. I could tell he knew something was wrong because I was giving him this look of, dude, is this chick nuts or is it me? And he gave me a look back of, bro, I just found out some shit. He got up, he patted me on the back and left to talk to his girlfriend about something. And I knew his girlfriend really well. We actually went to elementary school together. I eventually got so fucking pissed that I approached the 2 of them and asked them what the hell was going on. She then proceeded to explain that my date was going around telling people that I had done some pretty heinous things to her and that I was a liar and a whole fucking smorgasbord of things that never happened. I then told her that none of that was true and we hadn't even done anything past kissing. I started getting flustered and coming unglued. My friend then put her hand on my shoulder and flat out said, I know, Chris, we all know she's lying about you. We know that you didn't do any of those things. Your date's boyfriend is the one doing all that to her. What? Apparently, my friends had found out about all this in the past 20 minutes. The rumors, the boyfriend that she kept a secret, all that shit. So this came as a surprise to them as well, but obviously they weren't nearly as surprised as I was. I was floored. I then told my friend I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. 10 minutes later, I walked out of the ballroom. On the way out, I noticed my date on the balcony above looking down at me with the most evil grin I had ever seen. I just looked back up at her, grinned back, and shook my head so as to say, so long, you stupid cunt. I was extremely confused after that. I was in shock. I couldn't think straight. It took me a long time to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I met up with the same friend group the following weekend and they revealed more details. The weird behavior in weeks prior, the ghosting, everything fell into place. I then asked out of curiosity, wait, so did she ride back in the limo with you guys? And they said, yeah. And then I asked if they confronted her about any of what happened. They just looked at each other for a second and then said, it's probably best we don't talk about what happened in the limo. Amazing friends, by the way. If you guys ever find friends that are willing to stick up for you like this, hang on to them, seriously. Anyway, this shit is no joke. Some people are just evil fuckers, and they take pleasure in being as shitty as possible. Sometimes we can spot it, sometimes we can't. All we can do, though, is learn from each other's experience and educate ourselves on patterns to recognize. That's one of the main reasons I started this podcast, is to not only help you move on from past relationships, but also to help you learn how to avoid getting romantically involved with Satan's offspring. And one last thing, guys, please don't get scared by this episode and stop dating women altogether. There are plenty of healthy women who are ready to meet a badass like you. But, of course, there is always that risk of coming across a narc or another personality disorder. In fact, we're going to talk about how to screen for narc girlfriends in part 2 coming next week. In fact, that's all we're going to talk about. In my opinion, the more awareness we have in avoiding these types of people, the better off our society will be. My hope is that we can stop marrying and having kids with these people and ultimately make the world a better, less psychotic place. So stay tuned for next week's Narcissists Part 2, where I teach you how to screen for narcissism in your next date, if you get that gut feeling. In the meantime, guys, keep paving your own badass path, kicking ass, and remember the main takeaway from this episode: trust your gut. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining me in another badass episode, brother. If you want to accelerate into this new chapter in your life and get a boost into your badass journey, sign up for a free 45-minute consultation for post-breakup or divorce coaching. All the info is in the episode description. Also, please remember to like and comment. And if you know anyone who could use this info in their badass journey, please share this episode with them. None of this will be possible without you guys, so thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode. Trust your gut.